Hey everyone, happy Thursday. It's big news comes out of Tampa Bay, and that is the Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians has decided that it's time to retire, and he will be taking a position in the Bucs front office. And Todd Bowles, who was the defensive coordinator, will now be the head coach. He got a 5-year deal, and they locked him in, and they gave a boost to all of Bruce's assistants. And so there you go. Much has been said about Bruce's leaving. And all I can do is tell you that, you know, I can tell you over the last 24 hours, I've gotten a lot of information. I spoke to Bruce briefly earlier today, and this was something he planned on doing. And it was not something that was a spur of the moment thing, or he wasn't forced out by Tom Brady, despite some pundits in Boston who love to believe that theory. You know who you are, WEEI Radio. Anyway, Chris, it's
Well, to be fair, there's people in Boston that still think that Brady's going to end up in Miami. So, I mean,
yeah,
obviously, these people have nothing better to do than stir the pot. Obviously, the Patriots did nothing in free agency. They weren't a very good football team last season. By the way, Bruce, thanks for screwing up the replay of the Bills stopping New England in the wild card game, which I was enjoying until they had to interrupt to talk to a bunch of people that had no idea what was going on other than you announced your retirement. Um, but people in New England don't have anything else to do. The Red Sox don't play till next week, and it'll be a couple weeks before the sky falls in on them. I'm sure
right.
the Bruins, they're still playing for a playoff spot. The Celtics were playing well, so they didn't have anything to complain about there. So they had to come up with a new conspiracy theory, and that just seems to be the way things go in Boston. It's the News Zapruder film.
Right. Well, like I said, Bruce is 69 years old. We talked about this in the pre-show. That puts him with Belichick. They're a month apart. Bruce will turn 70 in September. Belichick will, turn 70 in October. Pete Carroll will turn 71 sometime in the fall. I forget when exactly it is, but hello, Michael. We dropped by and said hi to Allie. So yeah, I
I
mean,
didn't. I was sleeping. No, I wasn't. But I
wise
didn't
choice
drop
on
by.
your part. No, it's you know, it's there comes a time when you're in this business for 45 years that you decide, is it time to go? And Todd Bowles has been with Bruce for 30 plus years. He played for him at Temple. That gives you an idea how long that the two of those guys have been together. And he genuinely wanted to give Todd an opportunity to succeed. And when you get a guy like Tom Brady decides to fall back into your lap and come back and play, then you're foolish not to take that advantage. And one of the things he told our buddy Ira Kaufman was he doesn't give, and I'm going to edit this, a crap about the Hall of Fame, and he doesn't give a crap about what them people think. This is the way he did it, and deal with it. So that's pretty much Bruce. I mean, don't ask him a question if you don't want to answer, because he'll give you one. He also said that there wasn't a player who he ever coached from the time he started in Alabama, which is where I met him, till the time he, retired, that he didn't yell at one point in time. And he said, if you think that Tom Brady can't be yelled at, or Peyton Manning, or Bruce, Ben Roethlisberger, or any of the other, stars that he coached, then you're crazy, because they can, and they did. And so anyway, Bruce Arians, good guy. He will leave the Buccaneers. He will be entered into their Ring of Honor this fall. And the Todd Bowles era in Tampa Bay begins today. And so we'll see how that works out. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a change in the way that the Buccaneers run the show. So there you go, boys and girls.
Now, correct me. Now, you're going to tell me Leroy Selman is in the Tampa Bay Ring of Honor, right?
He is, yes, sir.
Okay, I was going to say I would think that he would be, since he was the
He was one of the
first
first. I
ever
think he
pick for
might
the
have even
franchise.
been. He might have very much even been the first. So yeah, he was there. His brother Dewey Selman is in there. Um, that was interesting. Leroy Dewey and Lucius Selman, all three linebackers at Oklahoma, within a year of each other. And Lucius Selman never played professional football. He stayed at the University of Oklahoma and was an assistant coach there for many years. So there's that. Yeah, he is in the Hall of the Ring of Fame, as is guys like Warren Sapp and John Lynch and Doug Williams and a few more than a few others. And so Bruce will get that job. And frankly, I think if you look at Bruce's resume, it's worthy of Hall of Fame consideration. You know, I don't vote for the Hall of Fame, so but Ira does. Ira Kaufman does. So we'll have to bring him on and ask him about how how he's gonna present Bruce for the Hall of Fame. So we'll see about that. But anyway, that's what we can talk about with regard to that. And yeah,
Michael said that Todd Bowles needs to bring back the creamsicle orange uniforms with Buccaneer Bruce.
actually, tell you what, they are bringing Buccaneer Bruce back for one game this year and one game next year. They got for years that has been everybody's wanted that. The problem was that uh, the helmets are different. If you remember, the Buccaneer creamsicle uniform was the helmet was white, and then there was the Buccaneer Bruce on the side there with the swashbuckling thing on the side of the helmet
Where he was
in
Cheeto
orange.
orange.
Yeah, orange with a little red tin to it. So yeah, that was there. So yeah, they will have it back this year. So in 22 and 23, and who knows 24, they will definitely be there. So that's
My
cool.
favorite thing about those uniforms was back when Sam Weish coached there, and he said,
Oh God.
I remember because I had the Super Bowl program the first year the Buffalo went to the Super Bowl against the Giants, and
Mm-hmm.
when they did the recaps for by week, Sam Weish said that the uniforms were that color orange, so that way they could see the tire tracks of the truck that ran them over. Uh, So I mean, the great late Sam White, he was a colorful individual, and of course, everybody knows of his many exploits with the great Jerry Glanville, both
Yeah.
in the NFC and the AFC, because of course Glanville coached the Falcons.
Yep. They didn't like each other at all, and they made no bones about it, which is
They
great.
probably still don't, even though Weish has passed away.
Yeah, Jerry holds a grudge, so I'm quite certain that if I know Jerry, he
Uh,
probably sent black roses to the funeral. But
I,
yeah, not
if it was me, I would think Glanville would have went to the funeral to make sure he was dead.
I don't know that they would have been
Um,
welcoming. I don't know if he'd have been welcome to the funeral. That might not have
Michael
been.
asked if Steve Young ever wore the creamsicle orange. I'm pretty
He
sure he
did.
did, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, we did. I saw it
Before
up
Vinny
close and
before
personal.
Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah, Vinny. Oh Lord, Vinny. Vinny once said, after having a season where he had serious interception problems, that the problem was that he had realized that he'd gone to an optometrist and found out that he was colorblind. Now, I understand color blindness, okay? But if one color, okay, I can see black, I can see white if you're colorblind, okay? You can see dark, you can see light. If my team is in the light and your team is in the dark, how does that still affect my ability to pass? Again, Vinny, God love him, Vinny's still around and is a good guy, lovely guy. But if ever there was a poster child for an NFL quarterback who was interesting but never quite met the expectation, it would probably be Vinny. but he did kick
Yeah,
around
and
for a long
the
time.
weird part is he led the league in interceptions 4 times. He
That's
did it in
right.
back-to-back years in Tampa in 88, 89. Then he did it with the Jets in 2000. And he did it with Dallas in 2004 at age 41.
Well,
So, I
Vinny's
mean,
nothing if
he
not
didn't
consistent.
necessarily get better.
No, no, he was an equal opportunity, thrower. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
Vinny. Interesting guy, very interesting guy. Um, but yeah, so we put a button on the Bruce thing. I just I think it'll be interesting to see Todd. Todd's a good guy. He gets a second chance now. He had a bad run in New York. Let's see how he
Well,
does with the
The
Buccaneers.
Jets haven't been a good team in an eternity, so
Yeah,
that's not. I wouldn't put that
there's
all on
that.
Todd Bowles.
Yeah, it's where coaches go to die. Is the New York
Ask Adam Gase.
Jets? Yeah, and Adam Gates isn't a bad coach either. So there you go. All right. Well, you know what? Let's do some fun stuff with our new. We got a new promotion from our buddies at BetMGM, and also with the folks here um, at Caesars. All right. So here's the deal with Caesars. Caesars has a $1,100 first bet insurance. Place a first time wager of up to $1,100 and get it back in the form of a free bet if you lose. So you can't lose. Okay. First time that you're involve yourself with Caesars using the Caesars bet app, all you have to do is bet any amount of money up to $1,100, and if you lose, hey, no problem. They're going to give you another shot at it. Okay. But here's what you got to do. Besides go to the show box, because that's where we have everything, you have to use our promo code, and that's ATS Winners. Okay. And that's what you're going to do. You do that, and you're good to bet on anything and get covered just in case you lose. Okay. How do you lose in a deal like that, huh? You can't. And that's what the folks at Caesars want you to do. So jump down there in the show box below. It's right below us, and make sure that you take advantage of that. Now, by the way, as we always say, you have to be 21 years of age and always bet responsibly. Okay, cool. Okay, my friend, we got Uno college basketball game tonight, huh? On the list, and it's the NIT final, I guess,
Yep, hold on. I got to
between
put. There we go. I had to
Xavier
get those
and
back up
Texas.
because they did. They didn't. I forgot when I exited out. They didn't pop back up.
That's okay.
Yeah,
It's
take
a
note,
it's
guys.
a reveal. There it is.
Take note,
The
guys.
Aggies.
Yep, you were expecting the TBC final tonight with Fresno State and Coastal Carolina. That game was moved to tomorrow night now because Fresno State apparently had travel issues that were unexpected. Um, of course, that game had to be played in Conway, South Carolina, because Fresno had a conflicting date at the Save Mart Center. But like I said, that game now moved to tomorrow night. So guess what? There'll be college basketball tomorrow to talk about, even if we don't want to talk about the Final Four, which will be Saturday. But this is the NIT final. We've got Texas A&M and Xavier. Of course, two teams that everybody thought would be here, not.
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M favored by 4.5 points in this contest. Texas A&M 27-12. They're 9-9 in the SEC. They're 6-3 on neutral floors. Xavier improved to 22-13. They're 8-11 in Big East. They were 2-2 on neutral floors. How'd they get here? Xavier beat St. Bonaventure in the semifinals, 84-77. Tuesday night, Texas A&M beat Washington State 72-56 in a game where neither team wanted to score in the last 5 minutes just to ensure that the game stayed under the total.
Huh.
We're looking at things here. Texas A&M 130th in scoring offense at 72.7 points a game. They're 157th in field goal percentage. They're 166th in 2-point percentage at 50.5. Neither team shoots much in the way of 3-pointers. Texas A&M knocks down 6.5 a game. Xavier 6.7. And neither team shoots well out there either. Texas A&M 252nd in 3-point shooting. Xavier is 262nd at 32.1%. Also, don't expect anyone to salt the game here at the free throw line. Xavier 70.1% at the stripe. Texas A&M 69.9. The big difference here between these teams, defensively, Xavier's a middle of the road team on defense, 181st in scoring defense, 69.1 points a game. Texas A&M 74th, giving up just 65.9 points per contest, 61st in field goal percentage defense, 95th in 2-point defense. The Aggies 9-1 in their last 10 against the spread after a straight up win. They're 8-1 in their last 9 following an ATS win. Xavier, despite beating St. Bonaventure the other night, are just 2-10 against the spread in their last 12 after a straight up win. Like Sly said, Texas A&M has been playing well. Might as well stay on the train and go with the Aggies. The Musketeers expected not to have Paul Scruggs again tonight. Tim, of course, has to be the contrarian and take Xavier. I just don't trust the Musketeers, especially when they gave up 54 points in the second half against St. Bonaventure after only giving up 23 in the first. And the loss of Scruggs is definitely concerning for Xavier. I know that they pulled it out the other night. I just think the way that Texas A&M played basketball down the stretch, that the Aggies are the better team tonight. It'll be an interesting game, I think. But I just think Texas A&M, with their late season momentum compared to what we've seen from Xavier, I know they've played better in the NIT than they did down the stretch. But it's hard to have faith in a team that fired their coach, that lost 8 of 10 to end the regular season, to play themselves out of an NCAA tournament spot. I know they've been better here, but every good thing has to come to an end, as they say. And this is the end of the Jonah Hayes unbeaten run as an interim head coach for Xavier.
Just so you know, Michael, no, I don't think AB's coming back. I appreciate the LOL on that one, buddy. You're absolutely right on it. And the Aggies are mad they didn't get March Madness tournament. That's why they're going to win tonight, Michael. The Cadets are mad.
We talked about Buzz Williams wrote that 9-page dissertation about why his team should have gotten into the field. And, they've been tearing things up since. So
that's right. Hey, fun fact about Texas A&M University. You know that they graduate more officers than the Naval Academy or the United States Army at West Point. So there you go.
I thought you were going to say, the fun fact was going to be that you had a bunch of relatives that graduated from there.
Well, that's a fun fact I decided not to use this time. I'd already used that fun fact. So not sure that it's a fun fact. It's just a fact. Whether it's fun or not, that's up to the people. Hey, is there an opportunity tonight? Because there is the NBA. Is there an opportunity tonight to fade the Lakers? Or is that not on the cards?
There is, but that you have to get to hockey first.
Oh, good point. Let's go to NHL first because we don't want to get out of order. My bad.
But to answer your question, yes, there is a chance to fade the Lakers. I don't have that one up, but I do have it down the page there.
Oh, there's the Lakers of the NHL, the Montreal Canadiens.
And Michael said the fun fact is that the Bush Presidential Library is at Texas A&M.
He's right. And our buddy Evan Weiner spoke at the Bush Presidential Library. So there you go. Not necessarily.
Now, is that the George Herbert Walker Bush, or is that
the
would
George
be
yes, the George Herbert Walker Bush one.
Okay, I wasn't sure. That's why.
The George W. Bush Library, I don't think exists yet. I'm not sure where it's going to be. Maybe it might be at Waco because he lives in Crawford, and Crawford's not that far from Waco. So maybe it'll be at Baylor. I don't know.
Now, how do they pick where those things go?
Honestly,
is there any rhyme or reason?
Usually, it has to do with a combination of a university wanting it to be there. They don't have to be at universities. Reagan Library is not a university. A number of them aren't. But sometimes they are. And it boils down to where if you're a president and you're from a state, usually the state has different areas where they want the library to be. So they'll it's almost like a bidding process where they'll put up the money for it. And so they just want the George Herbert Walker Bushes to be at Texas A&M, and no pun intended, they ponied up the the George W. Bush. Thank you, Michael. The George W. Bush Library is at SMU in Dallas. Okay, so there you go.
Where's the
There's your fun
Richard
fact.
Nixon Library?
It's it's out in Simi Valley.
I thought you were gonna tell me nobody wanted one.
No, it's there. It's in Simi Valley, which is in the valley a little bit north of Los Angeles. There, for those of you wanting to know such things, didn't realize that we had such a wired group here. It's good to know. Putting my political science degree to good use this afternoon, guys. Greatly appreciate it. So yeah, the Bush, I guess so. So George Herbert Walker Bush is at A&M, and thanks, Mike, for telling us that that the George W. Bush Library is at SMU. Okay, so good for there. And as we said before, we can't fade the Lakers yet, but we sure can fade the Canadians because that's what we always do. And
well, I mean, somebody's got to, right?
Is Carolina playing like their 7th game in a row? It just seems like every time I look up, Carolina's on the board.
Well, they played Monday night against Washington. They played Tuesday against Tampa, and then they were off yesterday. So it's their 3rd game in 4 nights. I think it's their 4th and 6th. I think it's pretty much the same for Montreal. Montreal, I know, played Saturday. Then they played. Let's see. Then they played.
Well, at least they're at home.
They played Sunday. Then they played Tuesday. Carolina's at home here. The Hurricanes 44-15-8. Montreal 18-38-11. The pumpkin the carriage turned into a pumpkin early for Montreal. They were the first team to be eliminated from playoff contention. They're 8-19-7 on the road. We got to go face the Carolina team that's 24-5-4 on home ice. It's going to be Jake Allen, 7-18-4 with a 319 goals against, a 906 save percentage, and 2 shutouts for Montreal. It'll be Frederick Anderson, 32-10-3 with a 205 goals against, a 927 save percentage, and 3 shutouts for Carolina. It's amazing how Anderson can play when there's not immediate spotlight on him, like there's been in Toronto the last 5 years. Now that he hasn't, down in Raleigh, it's not quite as bright of a blinding light on the hockey team down there like there is in Toronto. And, he's responded accordingly. Whether he can carry that over to the postseason will remain to be seen. But he's played well in the regular season. Tonight he gets a Montreal team that's dead last in the league in goals per game at 255. And if that wasn't bad enough, they're second worst in goals against at 376. My team worse than them, the Detroit Red Wings, who we talked about yesterday and who, despite a gallant effort, fell 5-4 in overtime to the Rangers. Meanwhile, Carolina is 8th in the league in goals for at 3.34 a night. They lead the league in goals against at 2.37. So that just shows you what a bad matchup this is for Montreal. You're the worst team when it comes to scoring. You're facing the team that's best at keeping the puck out of the net. You can't stop anybody, and you're facing a team that's top 10 in the league in scoring. The Hurricanes 5-1 in their last 6 against teams with a winning percentage below 400. They're 17-5 in their last 22 on one-day arrest. Montreal 5-16 in their last 21 against Metropolitan Division teams. They're 1-9 the last 10 times they've played the 4th game of a 4-game and 6-night set. They're 2-10 in the last 12 meetings with the Hurricanes. And look at that last number, 0-7 in the last 7 meetings between these teams in Raleigh. It does not bode well if you're a fan of the Bleu, Blanc, et Rouge tonight as they make the trip down the East Coast to Tobacco Road.
I do. So you're telling me that Frederick Anderson can play better when there isn't 35 media members covering the team as opposed to 6 with the Hurricanes?
Well, I mean, you have to figure there were 35 media members that were probably crammed within the space of his locker in Toronto. Yeah. Because let's face it, I mean, Toronto is a big hockey town. It has been since,
for sure.
1919, if not before that. Carolina's still, I know, I was never a fan when Peter Carmenos moved the Whalers from Hartford to go down to Tobacco Road, but No, it's not the same, and we'll see if he can channel that into postseason success because it was something he couldn't do north of the border.
There's Zach.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you, Zach, for letting us know. Hey, Zach, what Facebook are you watching us on? And also,
yeah, we were fortunate about that one because that game was 3-3 for an eternity, and I thought I was going to end up getting a lot past it, but it ending up 4-3 in a shootout. But we'll take it. And Euler, good to see you had a big win last night. We talked about Arizona, San Jose. I noticed our buddy Ryan is not here today.
he's
Probably
busy celebrating.
no, he's not. He's busy drowning his tears in some cheap beer because the Sharks were beaten by the Coyotes 5-2,
right.
which was disappointing. And now, of course, the Sharks now have to go on the road tonight and face Colorado. So not a good back to back set. Not a good back to back set for the Sharks. They had pretty much had to have that win last night and did not get it.
Yeah. Thanks to Zach for telling us that he's watched us on the Winners and Whiners Facebook. And Tyrone, welcome to the house, boys. All right, let's move on from Les Habitants to our next one.
Hey, look, it's
Panthers
Florida
again. Wow, that's
right.
ugly. That's an ugly money line.
They're all ugly numbers. There's I think 8 or 9 games tonight, and almost all of them are over minus 200 on the money line because these games are either a team's playing the second game of a back to back, or the third game in 4 nights, or they're just bad. In this case, it's just Chicago's that bad. We watched them the other night. They were up 4-0 in the second period against the Sabres, and then promptly went on to lose 6-5. It's going to be Kevin Lankinen, 4-9-5 with 363 goals against and an 886 save percentage in net for the Blackhawks. Sergei Bobrovsky gets another chance to try to right the ship after that rocky start against Montreal the other night. He's 32-6-3 with a 261 goals against a 914 save percentage and 2 shutouts. Bobrovsky, he did give up 4 goals to Montreal the other night. 3 of them came in a 142 span. Apparently, Tim now switched over from being on YouTube. He switched over to coming in on Facebook. So Tim just tested everything out. Next, we'll see him pop up on Twitch or something. Who knows? But Bobrovsky, like I said, he struggled against Montreal. This is a chance where we talked the other day, where Florida needs to win these games convincingly to be taken seriously. Yeah, I know they lead the Atlantic Division, but if you're struggling against doormats, and let's face it, Montreal was a doormat. The Blackhawks are going nowhere. They're down to backup goaltenders after trading Fleury to Minnesota. This is a team you need to blow out of the water. You can't just, scrape out a win or have to rally to win in the third period. This is a team you should be obliterating. The Blackhawks are 26th in goals for at 2.69. They're 24th in goals against at 348. The Panthers still lead the league in goals per game at 4.06. That number goes up at home. We talked about it the other day before they hung 7 on Montreal. Their home number is now up to a robust, 4.7 goals a game. So there's something in the water in Sunrise. I don't know if it's just the swamps of the Everglades. But Chicago only averages 2.71 goals a game on the road, so that doesn't bode well for them either. Panthers 6-1 in their last 7 on one-day arrest. They're 42-9 in their last 51 as a home favorite. They're 13-3 in their last 16 when their opponent scored 5 or more in their last contest. Chicago 1-5 in their last 6 against the East. 1-5 in their last 6 against the Atlantic. And they don't do well after they have offensive bonanzas. Look at that one. 0-9 in the game after scoring 5 or more in their last contest. Expect a return to the norm for the Blackhawks as they don't light the lamp as often as they did against Buffalo. And they probably get blown out of the FLA Live Arena down there in Sunrise.
Yeah. This is the time of season when if you're going to win a title or go deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs, you start getting that momentum. Remember, I mean, it's like the final couple weeks of a baseball season when the baseball team gets hot and they head into the playoffs and they start to build that momentum. And Florida needs to do that. And we'll see if Bobrovsky had one of those mental lapses or if he's got some problems. If he's got problems, then Florida has problems. So,
well, yeah, because I mean, you can't afford to go to Spencer Knight in a playoff series.
no. That would be they would have a halak moment. Hey guys,
Yeah, and Florida, Florida doesn't have a massive lead in that division. I mean, they have 96 points, but Tampa Bay has 90, Toronto has 89, and Boston has 87. If you go on a slide and a couple of those teams get hot, you could end up bouncing down the standings in a hurry.
right? And you don't want that. That's for darn sure. Hey, guess what? We got some stuff we're going to give you. The 2022 MLB Bettor's Guide is a must-have for you seam heads out there, myself included. And here's the deal, all right? The only betting guide you need to succeed for the 2022 Major League Baseball season is jam-packed with over 100 pages of insightful strategies. Right, yeah, 10 times the size. So 100 pages, some of which are written by the man sitting over to the side of me, the one, the only Chris King. So what else? What do you get in there? Well, I'll tell you what. You get futures odds, you get predictions, you get World Series, AL, NL Pennant, AL, NL MVP, AL, NL Cy Young. If I'm not mistaken, that's one of the ones that, by the way, spoiler alert, those are won by Chris. Okay. Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I'm winning all the awards.
Yeah, he wrote it. He gets to do it. So go downstairs, okay, to the show box below and take the opportunity to click on it. Now, it's not going to come until either the 5th or 6th of April.
Yeah, I think they're talking the middle of next week.
Yeah, so don't worry, but definitely go down and reserve yours for free from your buddies at Max Wagers Network, Picks and Parlays, and of course, Winners and Whiners. So go downstairs to the wonderful and marvelous show box where we've got all kinds of fun stuff for you. And check everything else out down there while you're in the show box below. Okay. And I like the who was it the other day that said do the Will Smith and slap the like button. Slap the like button.
I can't remember who that was. That might have been Elliot or it might have been
it might have been Elliot or James.
I can't remember.
It's one of our good regulars. Slap that like button, and of course, by all means, hit the bell and subscribe so you know where we are at all times, because we don't know where we are at all times. But be good for somebody.
And AJS, I agree with you about the Royals. I think they'll go over 74 wins. We talked about that with Scott and Scott the other day when we did the Central Division previews. I know a lot of people are high on Bobby Witt. He's probably the second or third top prospect there is in baseball, depending on which publication you read. The catch will be if the Royals can get enough pitching to make any kind of push, because there's a lot of young arms in that rotation. Well, I mean, he can't hurt. He's better than some of the guys that they trotted out there last year, like Jackson Kowar or Daniel Lynch. I mean, those are guys they need somebody at the front of the rotation that has experience, because a lot of those guys they're really young. I mean, you look at Singer and company there, and they need somebody that can anchor that rotation. But I mean, the Central, it's wide open behind the White Sox.
Yeah.
So I mean, Cleveland sucks, and everybody. I know Detroit Lenny is probably excited about.
Yeah. The Twins spent money.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying the Twins spent money. I don't know if it was, it's gonna. The Twins have done this before. They've spent money and it didn't pan out for them. So we'll see. But the White Sox
could always be worse. They could be Cleveland and not spend any money.
There's that. Yeah, no question about that. All right, so we were talking about fading the Lakers. Can we do it now?
Well, I don't have a slide for them, but I have them in the bottom in the shot in the dark section.
So basically, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We are going to fade the Lakers. Okay, but not now. That's what's
And
called.
Michael's right. It's hard to talk about baseball and talk about the Cleveland Guardians. It sounds like a roller
Yeah,
derby team.
it's yeah, or slow pitch softball. Okay,
Yeah, that
the
too.
Clips. Hey, now the Clips have come back from 225-point deficits to win in the last couple of games. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's disturbing because they beat Utah the other night, but Utah kind of beat themselves. Um, I think they got complacent. The Jazz were minus Bogdanovich. They were minus
Mhm.
Hassan Whiteside, so they were trying to play
The
with
good
guys that you don't
Bogdanovich.
normally see.
Yeah,
Yeah, the bigger one, as Barkley would say.
right. The taller
Um,
Bogdanovich. Yeah.
yeah, and it's tough. I mean, and plus, I think the Clippers got a boost because Paul George came back the other night for supposedly being a guy on a minutes restriction. I think he played 30 or 32 minutes. That's not much of a minutes restriction to me. Normally, when you come back when you haven't played in 3 months, you're on a bit of a pitch count. You play 15, 20 minutes, not 30 some. It just shows the Clips are a little bit desperate to try to make sure that they can make the postseason. Um, so he'll be out there tonight. I just think that going on the road and facing the Bulls is a bit of a challenge. Chicago, of course, bounced back. Yeah, PG was unreal. It kind of pissed me off. Um, but, are we talking spring baseball already, Bill? I know that Steen and Reichel like to talk about that with their straw hats. Uh, you know, Farmer Bob and Farmer Pete there,
Right.
But yeah, in this one I like the Bulls. Oh, that's a
Green
typo. I
Acres.
didn't change. I didn't change the record on the Clippers on the road. They're not 30-6. That was from when I copied stuff over from the Suns. Hold on, I'll get you their actual road record. They are actually
They
16
wish
and
they were that.
23. Yeah, they're 16 and 23. So that was my fault. I apologize for that typo. The Bulls are 26 and 10 at home. That was not a typo. The Bulls 12th in scoring offense at 111.4 points a game. They're third in field goal percentage. Yeah, if you bet the overs all the time, spring trading baseball has been money because every time you look at the box score, it's like freaking 29-8 or something like that. I saw the box score the other night where the Cardinals scored 15 runs in the eighth inning on the benefit of like 3 hits because there were 15 errors and 17 walks, a couple of
It's against the
hit batters.
Nationals, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, was that the Nationals? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I saw Anibal Sanchez started.
He
Either way,
didn't
though,
finish. Yeah.
yeah. Well, they had about 7 guys pitch in the eighth inning, I think.
Yeah.
The Clips play good defense, but they struggle offensively. They're 26th in the league in scoring offense at 106.8. They're 24th field goal percentage at 45.4. They're 6th in 3-point shooting. The Bulls are a middle of the road team defensively, but they get to come home here, and they're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 at home after a road trip of at least 7 days. The Bulls are 23-7 at home against the spread in their last 30 as a favorite. Clips 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 overall, 1-6 in their last 7 against teams with a winning record, and they're just 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 meetings against Chicago. Looking at the injury report, Nick Batum and Marcus Morris Sr. both questionable for the Clips. Brandon Boston is out. Kawhi Leonard, of course, we knew was out. Norman Powell still out with that broken foot. Jason Preston and Jay Scrubb also missing. Lonzo Ball still on his way back from that torn meniscus. Zach LaVine, though, is probable tonight with a sore knee, so look for him to take the floor. I think the combination of LaVine, DeRozan, and Vucevic will prove to be just enough for the Bulls to get the win at the United Center in this contest. That's true, Sly. If PG plays like he did the other night, the Clips can make some noise later. Unfortunately, he'll be making noise in the play-in games, and if they don't, succeed there, it'll be a quick off season for the boys from the Crypto Dome.
Yeah. It's another Captain Obvious moment, but this actually is a game that both teams have to win.
And let me ask you this, Jim. If the Clippers don't make the playoffs, how hot is the seed for Tyronn Lue? I mean, he's kept this team around 500 despite the fact that, they have no players.
I'm going to say that Ballmer's group, who owns the Clippers, they're not as reactionary as the Lakers, but you know, and a lot of people think Ty Lue is a fine coach. So I think he might have a little bit longer string than the Lakers. But we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to go with that he hangs maybe for the. Yeah, I'm not gonna fire him yet. I think
Okay.
he'll be around. I think it depends. Probably on how if they can make their way to the playoff game and maybe make a little noise. They're not going to win the championship, but if they can get in there and make a little noise, that'd be good. And you talked about, was it Milwaukee? Everybody other than everybody falling behind them. The Bulls, the Heat, everybody else. They just seem to be tripping over themselves, and so somebody's going to have to take control of that. And right now, it doesn't seem like anybody wants it. It's like playing hot potato.
True.
So there you go. So
breaking news: Clippers executive Jim Williams saying Tyronn Lue will not be fired.
Right. Yeah. Steve Ballmer.
Williams speaking on conditions of anonymity for owner Steve Ballmer.
Yeah. Steve will be calling me directly here soon. So all right. I was just reading Tim is helping out young Chad there, young Chart. I'm sorry. He thinks Xavier can win and cover. So there you go. All right. So from the Clips and the Bulls, we move on to the Nets and yet another team that is in that scrum with Miami and Chicago and everybody else.
And that's basically what it is. It's a scrum. You look at how the Eastern Conference has panned out, and it's a giant cluster. The Heat managed to win last night in Boston in a game that I thought was going to go over the total, and they were well poised to until the fourth quarter when Boston scored 15 points and lost. So the Heat lead the Eastern Conference by one game over the Bucks. The 76ers and the Celtics are 2 back. The Bulls and the Raptors are 4.5 back. Those are the top 6 teams in the East. Cleveland's loss yesterday dropped them 2 games behind Toronto for the final guaranteed playoff spot. So if the season were to end today, you would see the Nets and the Cavaliers in the 7-8 play-in game. So whoever won that would be the 7th seed. And the Hornets and Hawks would battle in the 9-10 game for the right to then play the loser of the Cavs-Nets, with then the winner of that game getting the 8th seed. So it's going to be interesting. I see the Nets are favored by a bucket here. I know that everybody's happy that the mandate was lifted where, Kyrie Irving can play at home now. That'll help the Yankees and the Mets with all the people that they might not have vaccinated on the court or on the field for those games as well. You look, the Bucks 47-28, the Nets 40-36, but they're just 17-20 at home this season. The Bucks 4th in the league in scoring offense at 114.9. They're 11th in field goal percentage. They're 5th in 3-point shooting. The Nets 19th in scoring defense at 112.1. They're only outscoring opponents by 0.3 points a game because you see they're 9th in scoring offense at 112.4. They're 16th in scoring or the Bucks are 16th in scoring defense. It's going to be an interesting game to see what kind of tempo we get here because they've set the total for this game at 243 points. It's climbed as the day went on. It was 237 or 238, I think, last night. The Nets are 11th in tempo at 98.9 possessions a game. The Bucks are 8th at 99.7. Injury report shows that we're probably going to see pretty much everybody, barring some sudden change. The only injury for the Bucks is Antetokounmpo, who's probable with a sore knee. For the Nets, of course, Joe Harris has been out since January. He won't play. David Duke's down in the G League. So is Day'Ron Sharpe and then Ben Simmons. So at this point, you're expected to see Durant and Irving and all those guys. And on the other side, you're going to see Antetokounmpo and Middleton and Holiday. The problem that I have with the Nets is we watch them struggle at times to get by a Detroit team that's been in the lottery since basically the end of October. The Nets or the Pistons covered in that game, and I think that we saw the Bucks. They were an underdog the other day against Philadelphia. They won in the city of brotherly love. I think they can win here. They're 6-1 in their last 7 one-day arrests. They're 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 against teams with a losing home record. They're 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 overall. And those last 2 lines are just horrible if you're looking at the Nets. 5-23-1 against the spread in their last 29 games at home, and 4-22 against the spread in their last 26 as a home favorite. Those are just horrible numbers. And I get the fact that Irving couldn't play in most of those, but in the 2 that he could play in, they lost outright to Charlotte, and they didn't cover against the Pistons.
It's not exactly home court advantage, and when you talk about those kind of numbers, yeah, that's not bad.
I mean, those are Orlando type numbers. And speaking
Yeah.
of Orlando, thanks to them not showing up yesterday and losing comfortably to the Wizards, I expected more from them.
Yeah, well, we got the Lakeland team instead. Let's talk a little bit about our friends at Caesar Sportsbook. $1,100 bet insurance. That's right. Place a first-time wager of up to $1,100 and get it back in the form of a free bet if you lose. Okay, so there you go. You can take a free one and bet anything from $10 all the way up to $1,100, and they will give you a free bet. They'll cover your first one and give you a second shot. Now you have to use the promo code, which, as we said before, is ATS WHINERS. Okay, and that's all in the show box below. And remember, you have to be 21 years of age to participate. Always bet responsibly. And if you do have a gambling problem, you have a phone number right here. It's 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Okay, so we hope you don't, but if you do, we got the number for you. All right, my friend, let's move on for 2 for the money.
Yeah, it's a hockey-centric one tonight.
Aha.
If it ever comes up.
And here it is. Okay.
There we go.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, we talked about Florida already. We talked about Florida over Chicago. This is a game Florida has to win and win more convincingly than what we saw against Montreal. You can't go up 3 goals in a minute 42 against a bad team if you want to be taken seriously. Colorado over San Jose. We talked about San Jose losing 5-2 last night to Arizona. The only one that was happy about that was Ular because, like he said, that game went over the total and helped him win his parlay, which was a plus for him. Don't forget to send our cut. That's just the way this business works. No, but Colorado playing at home. San Jose is a tired team. They had to fly in after playing in Arizona last night. It's going to be a rough night for the Sharks. Starting goaltenders are projected to be, let me double check here. The Sharks are going to go with Capo Kakinen, who they got in the deal with from Minnesota. Meanwhile, it'll be Pavel Francouz, 12-3-1 with a 253 goals against, a 918 save percentage, and a 2 for the Avs. So no Darcy Kemper tonight and no James Reimer, but I think the Avs have the edge offensively in that one. The Flames and the Kings, we talked about the Kings earlier. They played last night against Edmonton, lost 4-3. Calgary's at home. Cal Peterson, 18-11-1 with a 274 goals against and a 900 save percentage projected to start for the Kings with Jonathan Quick going last night. Jacob Markstrom, 31-13-7, the 216 goals against, a 925 save percentage, and 9 shutouts. He's been confirmed to get the start between the pipes for the Flames tonight. I just think that Calgary should be able to take advantage of the Kings being tired and having to make the second stop in Alberta. And then we talked about Carolina and Montreal. The Canadians have just been horrible. you have to think that the Hurricanes will get the upper hand in this one and cruise on to the victory, especially playing at home against a Montreal team that, let's face it, isn't good.
Quick question for you there, bud. It's coming from Zach Vaughn, our buddy. Anaheim Ducks are on a 10-game losing streak. Does it end tonight? They're facing the Stars twice in 3 days.
Well, I mean, they lost to the Stars the other day, and I don't have a ton of faith that they're going to do anything different tonight. Like you pointed out, they've lost 10 games in a row. It's pretty much cratered them right out of any kind of consideration for a playoff spot because now they're way out of the race. And if you look at what Anaheim's done during this stretch, it started with an 8-3 loss to the Blackhawks. Then they lost 4-1 to Nashville. They lost in a shootout to New Jersey. They lost to the Islanders. Then they lost to the Rangers. Then they got blanked by Florida at home. Then they lost to Nashville at home by 3 goals. They lost to Chicago by 2 goals at home. Then they lost by 3 goals again. So, I mean, they had 4 straight losses by multiple goals before losing 3-2 the other night to Dallas. I just think that Dallas, the Stars still have something to play for at this point as they're trying to hammer down a wild card spot. I think that it's going to end up being 11 in a row. I think Ottinger will outplay Gibson, and the Stars will escape with a road victory to get to 17-16-2 as the visiting team. And the Ducks just keep falling down the Pacific Division standings.
Which is not good because they definitely are moving themselves totally out of the picture, which
it's the opposite of the I was just gonna say it's the opposite of the Jeffersons. Instead of moving on up, they're moving on down.
Yeah. Yep. They're not playing with the full deck. Speaking of the full deck, after absolute moments of anticipation, I think when we move to the entire menu, we're going to get a chance to fade the Lakers.
Right, but first we'll do the 4 for the show here.
I'm
looking for the.
I thought we.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking for the 76ers and the Pistons to go over 223.5. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking self because that's you. Why in the world did this game go over the total? Well, the 76ers have been kind of leaky defensively of late, in case anybody hadn't noticed. They gave up 118 to the Bucks the other night. Before that, they gave 114 to Phoenix, 121 to the Lakers, 106 to the Heat, 114 to Cleveland, 114 to Denver, 114 to Orlando. That's a lot of points to be given up. And let's face it, the Pistons are not a great defensive team. They gave up 130 to the Nets in their last contest. But they've actually shown signs of life offensively. And the big number, when you look at this, is the fact that the 76ers have gone over the total in each of their last 4 after a straight-up loss, 5-1. The over is in their last 6 on 1 day of rest. It's also 7-2-1 in their last 10 on the road. The Pistons have seen the over go 5-0-1 in their last 6 at home against teams with a road winning percentage better than 600. And the interesting stats, the over 7-0-1 in the last 8 meetings between these teams. If that wasn't bad enough, the over is also 7-0-1 in the last 8 meetings between these teams in the Motor City. 223.5 sounds like a lot when you're talking about the Pistons, but hey, it's hard to argue those kind of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I like the Bucks +2 over the Nets. Anytime I get 2 points with the Nets or with the Bucks, the way they've played basketball and the fact that they're healthy is a plus. I mean, I took them with the points against Philadelphia the other night. They won outright. I'll take them again here. The Bulls over the Clips. We talked about that. And then the Bruins over New Jersey. That's the game Boston has to win. We talked about Florida needs to win games convincingly.
Mm-hmm.
Boston, was hammered by Toronto the other night. I know you look at the final score and say it was only 6-4. Yeah, but it was 6-1 in the second period when Boston completely lost their cool and then tried to, go go ballistic, led to Brad Marchand picking up another misconduct penalty. Pretty sure he leads the league in that kind of stupidity. Be Nico Dawes in net for the Devils. Linus Ullmark is expected to start for the Bruins. This is a game where Boston needs the win. They need to get back on track. They had won 7 of 8 before losing that game the other night. New Jersey's going nowhere fast. We know that they're not going to the playoffs. So this is a chance for Boston to pick up 2 points that they need in the standings.
Mm-hmm. They're sticking in Trenton. Yeah. So
good old Trenton.
Good old Trenton. There you go. All right. So there's the 4-team parlay. Now, after I've screwed the open twice, let me go one more time. This is the opportunity with the menu, shot in the dark, to fade the Lakers somewhere on this list, but not first.
Yep, they're in there. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna stick with Texas A&M over Xavier. I know we talked about it at the top. I just think the Aggies are a motivated team, like Michael said. You know, they're pissed off they didn't make the field for the NCAA tournament, even though there's some teams that got in. Michigan that didn't necessarily belong there. You could have just inserted any Big Ten team really into that spot, but Michigan stands out. I also look for that game to go over 137.5. I just think that Xavier will push Texas A&M up and down the floor a little bit more than they wanted to, kind of like they did with St. Bonaventure. Now, we talked about the Pistons and the 76ers going over the number. I don't trust Philadelphia to cover double digits. The Pistons seem to cover games when they're an underdog. Don't pick them when they're favored. We took them the other day when they were favored against, or last week when they were favored against Portland. And not only did they not cover, they didn't even win the game. They lost outright. But they seem to play well when they're major underdogs and cover games. We saw them with the Nets the other night. Look for it again here. There's the Lakers. We talked about them. I know Utah struggled the other night with the Clips, but the Lakers are a team in disarray, and that's probably being generous. Just looking at the injury report for the Jazz, Bogdanovich is questionable again with that calf strain. Daniel House is questionable with a bone bruise.
LeBron's not playing.
That's true. LeBron has been ruled out with an ankle sprain, and Anthony Davis is doubtful. Now, of course, for all we know, they'll try to stick him out there. And if they did, don't forget, the last time that these two teams met was when Davis got hurt right before the All-Star break. They put him out there, and he hurt his foot. I think that was, 2 or 3 games after he came back from being hurt the last time. It might be better for him just to stay home and not make the trip for this game.
Well, LeBron is back in L.A. having his foot looked at by a couple of team doctors, so he isn't even on the traveling squad, and we don't even know what's going to happen when they return home.
Well, yeah, so I mean that's a factor too. So I guess that means it'll be Russell Westbrook jacking up 30 shots and making about 6 with probably about as many air balls or shots off the side of the backboard, or insert other bad-looking shots here. The one player prop I snuck in here was Kevin Durant going over 30.5. I just think this is going to be one of those games where you see him and Antetokounmpo going back and forth over and over and over again because, let's face it, that's what these guys do. They score a ton of points. Same token, I'm going with Cleveland and Atlanta staying under 228. Cleveland's still a very good defensive team despite their issues offensively of late. Both teams playing the second game of a back-to-back. We saw Cleveland lose to Dallas yesterday. We saw Atlanta beat Oklahoma City. Not that anyone was overly impressed with the fact that they beat the Thunder, who were minus pretty much everybody. Like we talked about when Zach asked about it, I'm going to go with the Stars over the Ducks. Yeah, that's right. The Leafs are playing the Jets. I didn't put that up here because I try to avoid games that, I have a personal interest in. The Utah game I had to put up because there was a lack of NBA games on the schedule. From what I understand, it's going to be Eric Comrie starting for the Jets against Eric Kallgren because the Leafs have no goaltenders right now. Kallgren, of course, was called up a couple of weeks ago Peter Mrazek hurt for what seems like the 17th time this season. He seems destined for long-term IR. What a waste of an investment that was, paying him $3+ million a year to get hurt more times than he's actually turned in a decent start. All I can do as a Leafs fan is hope that Jack Campbell comes back sooner rather than later. The one plus that the Leafs have, other than being at home, is, like Sly said, the Jets played last night in Buffalo, winning in a shootout 3-2. The Jets also expected to be without Kyle Connor and Nate Schmidt, who were in the COVID protocols yesterday. According to Elliot Friedman, that means every player on the Jets this season has spent time in the COVID protocols. It makes for a rough go there. Either way, I wish Sly and the Jets luck. They can get 1 point if they want, but I'd rather have 2 myself. Like we said, the Stars over the Ducks, the Islanders over the Blue Jackets. These teams met in Columbus the other day, with the Islanders taking a 4-3 win. This game's in Trotz land. I don't expect things to be a whole lot different. Ilya Sorokin and Elvis Merzlikins in net for that one. I look for the Sharks and Avs to go over 6, especially now that I see that it's 2 backup goaltenders, and we know how well Colorado scores at home. And the Penguins and the Wild to stay under 6.5. Minnesota, they've been on a roll. I think they've won 7 in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely, they've all come at home. And if you look in that stretch, the under has gone 6-0-1. So Minnesota, for as well as they've played offensively at home, and they average 3.97 goals a game at the Xcel Energy Arena, or Center, whatever it is.
Whatever that place is called. Yes.
That building over there with the dome and stuff.
Right.
It's supposed to be looking here. Apparently, the Penguins are going with Casey DeSmith over Tristan Jarry. DeSmith 6-4-4 with a 296 goals against, a 905 save percentage. It's going to be Cam Talbot 27-12-1 with a 280 goals against and a 911 save percentage for the Wild. I still think it's going to end up under 6.5. I think it's going to be a 3-2, something like that sort of game. Both teams have good defenses. Pittsburgh doesn't give up much as far as goals go on the road. They only allow, I think it's 2.3. Where'd it go? Stupid thing. 2.38 goals per game on the road. Minnesota only gives up 2.94 at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one will end up short of the number.
Yeah, looks that way. All right, what are you going to watch tonight?
I'm just looking at Daryl's thing. That's a big parlay. You're going with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 teams. Wow. I'm biased, but I like the Leafs. I like the Stars. I like the Avs and the Flames. I put them up in the 2-team part. I like the Bucks. I'm not sold on Cleveland. They didn't look all that great in the second half against Dallas. Now they have faced an Atlanta team that hung 136 or something like that yesterday. And Cleveland has struggled without Mobley and without Jared Allen and all that because their size advantage is gone. The Clippers I don't like. I like Chicago there. Now, sure, George could go off for like he did the other night, but going on the road's a different ball of wax. And Texas A&M I like. Oh, Texas A&M over. Yeah, well, I went with the over anyway. So,
right,
it's a very complex parlay you got going there, Daryl. Like I said, the ones that I'd be concerned about from a personal perspective is the Cavs and the Clips. But as the saying goes, if you are comfortable with it and you're solid with what you've got there, then go with it. You don't have to listen to me or anybody else. We just give you the advice that we have.
Yep, the best we can give you.
As for what am I going to watch? Well, I'll watch the Leafs and the Jets on ESPN3 because I'll say this about ESPN3. Since I upgraded Hulu and got Hulu with live TV and they added all that crap, it makes it a lot easier to watch hockey games down here because normally I'd be restricted to watching, whatever the national game was or the Hurricanes, who I don't like. So kudos to them
You
for
got
getting all those
options.
games out there. Yeah,
You got
there's more
options.
options.
Mhm.
I can watch bad games if I want.
Right. The
My wife's
Coyotes.
grandfather was here. We watched the Sabres play the Blue Jackets. I mean,
Oh, there you go. That
and that was
counts as a
horrible.
bad game. Yeah. All right. Well, we've had a lot of fun today. Any final questions before we get out of here? Tomorrow,
No, what are you going to watch, Jim?
Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. I
The
don't
Nets
think.
Bucks game is on at 7:30
What? Who's on?
on
Who's at 7:30?
TNT. The
Oh,
Nets
the
Bucks.
Matt. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll watch the pregame show and see how it goes.
And yes,
See if
Daryl. Once baseball comes in next week, we'll be talking about that,
we
and
definitely will. We're not going
we'll even
to
talk
let it.
about the USFL, much to the chagrin of my co-host Jim Williams.
No.
Uh,
I will. When you tell me we're going to do that, I'll wear my bandit sweatshirt. I mean, my bandit sweater. Uh,
do you know where it is?
so yeah, I do actually. Yeah, it's it 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 will come out. Pit as it may not quite, it may fall off once I put it on, but you never know. We'll see. It's been a while since that puppy's seen the light of day, but we will bring it back. So yeah. All right. Well, cool. All right, everybody. Now, don't forget to watch Scott and Scott at 3 o'clock on Max Wagers, and then coming up after them will be they're doing baseball today. Are they doing a baseball preview show? Maybe there might be a baseball preview show.
No.
I don't know.
Today's the WrestleMania preview show.
Oh, WrestleMania preview with David, the
Yeah,
Dominator.
apparently I got roped into. I got roped into that too.
Oh, okay. Well, you and the gang will be there for that one. And then five
I'm sure
o'clock.
literally dozens of people will be tuning in.
Right. At 5 o'clock, it's Tim, Nick, and Lenny. Tim was here a little earlier. And they'll be there for getting you ready for the evening. So don't go anywhere, gang. Just hang out with us. We enjoy having some time with you. We've had our time. We're going to let it go on now to Scott and Scott. We will see you tomorrow. Have a lovely night and hope everything goes well for you. Remember, check the show box below. All the fun stuff's down there. Okay? All right. Bye-bye.